So over the last 2 years, everybody, millions of people in the nation were given financial aid from the government in the form of 3 separate stimulus checks. If you received the full amount for each payment, it came to $3,200 in stimulus relief. The last check started arriving in households last year, so it's likely that most Americans have already used up all these relief funds.
Mismanagement. We're reducing the Trump deficits and returning our fiscal house to order. Now, the budget I'm releasing today will continue this approach. It makes prudent investments in economic growth, a more equitable economy, while making sure corporations and the very wealthy pay their fair share. And I would add, nobody making less than $400,000 a year will pay a penny more in federal taxes. We can do this by, one, passing legislation that lowers costs for families on things like child care, health care, and energy costs, while lowering our deficit at the same time. We can give hardworking parents.
But the big news, everybody, is that it turns out not everyone was supposed to keep the money that they've received from the IRS. According to the tax agency, there are a few stipulations that might require you to return your third stimulus check. There are many qualifications you need to meet to legally receive the third payment, and your citizenship was part of it. So while you were not necessarily required to be a US citizen to get the check, you did have to be considered a tax-based qualifying resident alien in 2021, and not claimed as a dependent for another taxpayer. And according to the IRS, people in the United States who were considered to be non-resident aliens were not eligible for a $1,400 third stimulus check. The IRS is now saying that if you received a third stimulus check incorrectly, you also need to pay it back. The IRS could have potentially mailed third stimulus payments to people that were not eligible. However, everybody, there is one instance that might make you able to keep some money. The IRS says that if a payment was made to joint filers and one spouse is still living, the person may ask to be sent a new check for the eligible portion. And the third stimulus check was issued to most people last year as an advancement of a 2021 tax credit. According to CNN, this means that because the IRS did not have access to your 2021 information, yet when sending this payment, they likely relied on your 2020 or 2019 tax return to determine if you were eligible. As a result, taxpayers must realize that they don't actually qualify for all the money that they received for the third economic impact payment when filing the 2021 return. But fortunately, the IRS says you don't have to pay back money from the third stimulus check, even if you receive too much. In an official statement, the IRS stated if you qualified for a third payment based on your 2019 or 2020 tax return, the law doesn't require you to pay back all or part of the payment that you received, based on the information reported on your tax return. Chuck Schumer has just announced to everybody that he supports bipartisan talks on a bill aimed at lowering insulin costs for patients, and that measure could get soon passed by the Senate. Susan Collins and some Democrats are leading the talks on this, and Manchin and Democrats have previously touted a bill from the Senate. And it's going to cap out-of-pocket insulin costs at $35 per month. Susan Collins had their own bill aimed at insulin costs that they introduced in 2019, and they are currently working on updating the measure for reintroduction. Today, Schumer gave his support to that bipartisan effort, saying that it could be combined with Warnock's measure. Schumer told reporters there's now bipartisan efforts underway, led by Senator Collins and Senator Shireen, to pair the $35 cap sponsored by Senator Warnock with additional policies that drive down the list price in a more comprehensive way. Or do you believe they should be focused on helping out the people with more stimulus payments? Tell me what you think, everybody, in the comments down below.
Fiscal house to order. Now, the budget I'm releasing today will continue this approach. It makes prudent investments in economic growth, a more equitable economy, while making sure corporations and the very wealthy pay their fair share. And I would add, nobody making less than $400,000 a year will pay a penny more in federal taxes. We can do this by, one, passing legislation that lowers costs for families on things like child care, health care, and energy costs, while lowering our deficit at the same time. We can give hardworking parents raising children tax relief that gives them just a little bit of breathing room and lowers child poverty. We can give Medicare the power to negotiate lower prescription drug prices. This will bring down the cost for seniors and reduce the deficit by hundreds of billions of dollars. Congress can do this all right now. They're debating it now. We can also restore fiscal responsibility. The Trump tax cuts added $2 trillion in deficit spending and largely helped the rich and the largest corporations. Under my plan, as I said, no one making less than $400,000 a year will pay additional single penny in taxes. No one. If you don't make 400 grand, you're not going to pay a single penny in additional share. Pay a little bit. A firefighter and it's my hope that Congress enacts this law.
If Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, and President Biden get this bill passed in time. So according to CNN, Nancy Pelosi has suggested that Americans are uninformed about President Biden's agenda and what he has work to do in the House. So friends, according to CNN, Nancy Pelosi has suggested that Americans are uninformed about President Biden's agenda and what he has done in the White House. Nancy Pelosi also said that those who call the United States home are blessed to have Joe Biden as president. Do you believe with a statement from Nancy Pelosi, folks? Tell me in the comments. And when asked for reasoning behind Biden's decline in polling on certain issues like the crisis and inflation, Pelosi told MSNBC that she believes the president's work is misunderstood. And I know many of you are worried about how the Biden administration will take action on rising inflation in the next fourth stimulus package. So noting that people are still suffering in America, Pelosi said the issues that relate to the well-being of the American people are being well served under President Biden. Nancy Pelosi actually said there's no one more empathetic than President Biden. Do you believe Nancy Pelosi, folks? Tell me in the comments. It's important to know, everybody, that Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen told reporters that the president's $1.9 trillion crisis relief bill contributed a little bit to inflation. The crisis-induced supply chain constraints were the bigger culprit. And now here's some good news for many of you. More than 175,000 teachers are set to get a major cash boost this year due to both a pay rise and $1,000 bonuses. In the state of Florida, the governor Ron DeSantis is providing $1,000 payments to teachers for the second year in a row, as well as an increased teacher salary from $40,000 to $47,500. Florida's Governor DeSantis recently announced his plan for this year's education budget. He proposed increasing funding for educators and students K-12, as well as investments in new education initiatives. So in an official announcement, DeSantis said, by continuing to boost teacher pay, give bonuses to principals and teachers, prioritize the workforce education, we're making a significant difference in the lives of our students.
I wanted a big market, access to capital, and to create a business. I was very fortunate, and I've paid a lot of money in taxes, and I'm okay with it. But this is attacking them for their success. It's un-American. That's what it is. And I predict this, not that I want to get into politics, Biden is going to get decimated in the midterms. Even his own party, the entrepreneurs in his own party, and I've talked to 30 plus of my CEOs, think this idea is insane, really bad, and un-American. So let's call it what it is.
How do you want to do it, Anthony? You were nodding that maybe.
Well, listen, Kevin's doing a great job, so I don't want to interrupt him, but I would tax the interest on those loans. Kevin knows that when you take out a margin loan, you get an interest rate deduction on that loan. I think that that's unfair. So if someone's taking out a $100 million loan